I had vaguely leftist sympathies almost from my initial college days. Though I think in the beginning I was more of an admirer of Bertrand Russell, and through him I had an idea that communists are good in the heart but wrong in the head. That's roughly Bertrand Russell's attitude towards the communist movement. Up to the emergency, I also thought that I had a lot of friends among the Naxalite movement in Warangal where I was studying, but I thought that philosophy was all wrong, though they were good in the heart. Their heart was in the right place. The emergency, that way, I couldn't find anything in Russell's philosophy which would explain the emergency, or in anything else that I believed at that time which would explain the emergency. I thought the Marxist understanding would help me to explain more. If I remember rightly, it was during the emergency that I declared to myself that I am a Marxist hereafter. Later I became a sympathizer, but as far as activity is concerned, I was only in the civil rights movement from the very beginning. 1978, 79, I was in the civil rights movement. Because being in Warangal made a lot of difference. If I had been somewhere else, perhaps I wouldn't have been involved in this. Warangal was a major center for the ML movement in its earlier phase, where one could see its social content, but one did not have to infer it dialectically. One could see it physically. But they were there among the poorest sections of the people, and for whom the law had done nothing for the last, by that time, 30 years. Today it is 50 years. That one could see. And I think also that it is partly to the credit of the civil rights movement in Andhra Pradesh that we have been able to educate the ordinary people that encounter means murder. Today one does not have to tell them. It's taken for granted that encounter means murder, and today the position is that the police have to explain and prove that it's a real encounter. That's I think it's some achievement that has been the achievement of the civil rights movement here. That also has happened. Well, that's how it began, and subsequently it had to grow. It had to grow by the very logic of its the cause it exposed. My own view, which may not be fully accepted by everybody, is that once you formulate a protest in terms of principle, you have to firstly you can never formulate a protest only in terms of interest. You can never say I am being oppressed. You have to say oppression is wrong. That's the only way you can formulate a protest. The moment you do that, the principle becomes universal. Not universal in the sense of 100% universal, but it finds for itself a class which goes beyond you. Then what happens is that you will have to speak for many more people, which again has its own further consequences. So a perpetual expansion of the principled concerns is unavoidable in the very fact that a protest has to be expressed in terms of universal values. So once we say that torture is wrong, it's impossible for civil rights movement to say torture of Naxalites is wrong. You have to say torture is wrong. Once you say torture is wrong, you have to look at who else is being tortured. So we had to look. In the beginning, police used to make fun of us. That look, when you come to a police station asking for the release or to somebody to be produced in court who happens to be a radical, he's in the lockup. There are 10 more people in the lockup along with him. Why don't you talk about them? Police, of course, were not interested that we should talk about them. They were interested in exposing our one-sidedness. But we learnt a lesson from that. So we started saying that torture is wrong. Now, if torture is wrong, then you have to answer many more questions. Because you are saying torture not only of a political revolutionary, but also of a criminal is wrong. Then you have to answer for yourself what is crime. What is civil rights movement's understanding of crime? Is it the same thing as that of the system, or do you have a different understanding? Can you be satisfied with a totally subversive understanding that can you say that all crime is protest? Obviously it is not. There is some crime which even ordinary people don't like, so one has to formulate a notion of crime. So the movement started expanding. 1985 brought about a major break. I remember very well that prior to 1985, I had a few Dalit students, I was then teaching in a university, who were of course friendly with us and appreciative of what we were doing. But pointedly they used to ask, sir, is it a human rights violation only if somebody is killed in a police lockup, but not if he is banished from the village saying you are untouchable? Is it not a human rights violation? I still remember answering that in that case you are being banished by another citizen. It's between two citizens and you can approach the law. Whereas when the state itself oppresses someone, there is no recourse, practically no recourse in the law, and therefore we are not concerned about untouchability as a human rights issue. That was the answer we gave, I myself gave, until 1985. 1985, July 17th, there was a major incident in what is today Prakasham district, a village called Karamchedu, where a major assault on Dalits took place and 6 men were killed and 3 women were raped by upper caste people, who happened to be very closely related to the then Chief Minister N.T. Ramarao. His daughter's husband's village, it was that village.